Friday, September 11th marked the 14th anniversary of the terrorist attacks that took the lives of almost 3,000 people. 71 law enforcement officers and 343 firefighters were lost when the Twin Towers collapsed on that fateful day. And 55 military personnel were killed during the attack on the Pentagon. Here in Lake Orion, an annual ceremony takes place that remembers the lives lost and honors first responders. On Friday, members of the community gathered at the Orion Veterans Memorial on M24 to commemorate the event that took place in 2001. A large American flag was suspended from a ladder truck over M24, and emergency vehicles occupied the lane closest to the memorial. Orion Township Fire Chief Bob Smith welcomed visitors and introduced guests.
343 firefighters, 37 Port Authority, and 15 EMS personnel lost their lives 14 years ago. Unfortunately, almost half that number of first responders have lost their lives this year already. Some of it, and quite a bit of it's been in violence. Are we letting patriotism fade away? I hope not. Only this is why we need to be assured that the patriotic torch is passed on. The day after, September 12th, we collectively dusted ourselves off to begin to show patriotism, and it was as strong as it was ever witnessed. Young men and women stood in line to join forces to fight the evil. We have our own heroes that joined out of patriotism, and some came home and some haven't. We had Sergeant Plower, Sergeant Blaylock that didn't make it home. They paid the ultimate sacrifice.
This year's ceremony encouraged adults to pass the torch of patriotism to the youth of the community. The chief introduced a special guest speaker, Leah Warren of Birmingham, who along with her father, Judge Michael Warren, founded Patriot Week in 2009. Leah was only 10 years old at the time.
All too often, America lets social media, celebrities, and gossip shadow the treasures and the tragedies of this great nation. As a country, and even more so as the youngest generation of this country, we need to make a commitment to remember the horrors of our past and ensure they never repeat again. We have made so many improvements in national security and surveillance, but unless Americans make an effort to remember and commemorate those events, the terrorists have already won. The biggest hurdle to overcome in order to ensure that 9/11 is never forgotten is to impress upon our youth that they cannot take their freedoms for granted. It's understandable why something that is so present in our daily lives could be easy to overlook and to accept as something that is permanent. But as the events of 9/11 remind us, there are always people in the world looking to take those freedoms away from us.
Also speaking during the ceremony was Art Schra, who served with the Lake Orion Police Department, Sheriff's Office, and Orion Township Fire Department for 22 years. Art traveled to New York City on the day after the terrorist attacks and shared his firsthand account of the experience.
The other thing within Ground Zero that would take place is whenever any human remains were found within Ground Zero, the work in that area was stopped. They would try to, if they could identify it, whether it was a law enforcement officer or a firefighter, and that's if they could tell by the uniform they were wearing, then what they would do is once they had the body, they identified the body, then they would go and notify either the fire department if it was fire personnel, or the law enforcement if it was Port Authority, or whether it was the New York City Police Department. And then what they would do is try to get members of that group to go in there, and then they would go in, and when they went in to recover the body, all work within Ground Zero would stop. And they would escort their own comrade out of Ground Zero into a waiting ambulance to take him away.
The ceremony concluded with a performance by a choir made up of the children of Lake Orion's first responders. They performed a medley of patriotic tunes under the direction of Kathy McMinn.
From the mountains to the